Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still watching Nile Cruise on Nile TV. Dear viewers, in a very special segment as Egypt celebrates November the 22nd, launching its first communication satellite, TIBA-1, which provides internet services to individuals and companies in Egypt and some North African countries, as well as the Nile Basin countries. The launch, dear viewers, is conducted by a French company and from South America, and the French company finished the tests related to the satellite systems to verify its safety. It will also complete the filling of the fuel tanks that will enable the satellite to remain in the orbital site for 15 years. Dear viewers, in this context, we have with us today a very special a very special guest, which is engineer Mayar Wael Fahim, and she is an aviation and space engineer, specialized in designing and fabricating planes and rockets. A very good day, Mayar, and it's a pleasure to have you with us. A beautiful guest, of course. A pleasure to have you with us today in this very special day. Of course, Egypt is celebrating.
The pleasure is all mine.
Thank you, Mayar. It's a pleasure having you. Of course, dear viewers, the government will take over the management and control of TIBA-1 satellite following its launch to provide communication services to government institutions. So it is now in the hands of Egypt. Now, Mayar, with the launch of the Egyptian satellite TIBA-1, Egypt enters the world of satellites intended for communicational purposes, representing a major shift in the field of communication and information technology. So why was this launch necessary, Mayar?
Firstly, as you mentioned, of course, it's going to make a major shift in Egypt, and by us joining these satellites, this field of satellites and communication, we're going to promote providing technological to the isolated areas, and also broadbanding internet to such areas, as well as it's going to be bridging the digital gap between the urban and the rural places.
How will it affect the lives of Egyptians, Mayar?
Actually, by our government support and effort working on such a project, they thought that the aim that to make the best use of Egyptians' natural resources to provide them a decent life. So they thought about scientific plan for these satellites, so we could make like Egyptians like being in a very different place in such a field.
Right, Mayar, and what are the educational and industrial outcomes expected from this launch?
First, this project will gonna put Egypt in the place it deserves, nationally and internationally. Plus that they provide the most important sectors in such petroleum, health and education, and other many government sectors. So I think like to know how to being in such a field, providing the internet, outboarding and the satellite. I mean, it's gonna be spreading too much information and telecommunication also.
Okay, Manar, you mentioned previously, Mayar, sorry,
Yeah.
you mentioned previously the use of Egyptian natural resources. Could you please tell us more about the Egyptian natural resources?
As far as like the education, we don't have so much information, or we don't have a big background in such a field. We will be joining soon this department all over the world, as we're going to have the Egyptian Space Agency. So I think we need people or like students who will be growing up on loving such a department, so they could affect Egypt's history in such a field.
And Mayar, how will the quality of internet positively affect communications with this launch?
Actually, by promoting the telecommunication in such isolated areas, as I mentioned, it will be serving all the countries on the Basin Nile. So I think we're gonna connect also us with the most African countries. Yeah.
Mayar, what are the regional implications?
As I mentioned, how it's gonna be, we're gonna be connected much more with the African countries, and it was actually the implement of our Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Was his vision in improving this line, the technology, and this strategy for the Egyptian vision for 2030.
Mayar, and we understand that you were the first Egyptian lady to go abroad and study this field, and so talk to us about your adventure and why did you choose this field from the very beginning? And I understand you studied in Ukraine, right?
Exactly. Actually, was my childhood dream. I used always to love the space and everything about that department. So I worked hard to join the National Aerospace University in Ukraine. It's a national university. It's actually related to the Soviet Union. It's all about the rockets and space, and my field specifically is design and construction of rockets and airplanes.
And what are the challenges that faced you, Mayar?
Firstly, being the only female, I was the first female Egyptian and Arabian female in this university to join that major. So actually being the only female in the whole department was the big difficult I faced there.
And Mayar, who are your idols? Do you have idols in this field, people that you look up to, that you want to be like?
Mostly everyone we're gonna mention celebrities or something, but I'm gonna mention my family because as an Arabian family, like Arabian culture, mostly sending your only daughter or only female daughter to study abroad in a like European country, it's very difficult to understand here and probably to believe in that dream because like not everyone comes up with that idea or that field. Yeah.
Okay, Mayar, of course, with the launch of the Egyptian satellite Tiba-1, Egypt enters the world of satellites for communication, of course, purposes. Where did we stand and where will we stand?
Actually, we have launched 6 satellites before, 3 for observation, Earth observation, and other 3 for telecommunications. So I think by sending this TIBA-1, I think we will be in the place that we deserve internationally in such department.
Right. Mayar, do you find it easy or difficult now to work in your specialty? What do you do? Because you have a very rare specialty in Egypt.
Actually, I'm still looking forward to having a good opportunity here because that's the main purpose why I came back to Egypt. So I'm still looking forward, inshallah, to be one of the main members that will be working in the space agency, the Egyptian Space Agency in
Great.
specific.
Right.
Mayar, you are specialized in designing and fabricating planes and rockets. Tell us
Exactly.
more about this.
Actually, the major, it's about designing the airframe of the aircraft. I mean, like the outer construction of the aircraft. So I was designing fighter jets. And also I was studying about rockets, about the rockets that we send it for also telecommunications and such areas. And also the outer part of the space, which is the satellite and the spacecraft.
You mean the rockets that help in the word of communication?
Exactly. Outer part, which is the spacecraft and the satellite, and the inner part, which we call it the aircraft jets, the space jets, because it's inner part of the Earth, but it's usually use the same propulsion system of the rockets that goes to the outer Earth. Yeah.
All right. Engineer Mayar Wael Fahim, aviation and space engineer, specialized in designing and fabricating planes and rockets, the first Egyptian and Arab lady to go and study this very interesting field, Rana, abroad in Ukraine, to be specific. Thank you very much for joining Nile
Thank you.
Cruise.
Thank
It's been
you
a
for
pleasure.
interviewing me.
Mohammed, before we wrap up this segment, it's worth to mention that it's been 150 years before the inauguration of the satellite. Bef- so, sorry, dear viewers, I'm very sorry. It's been 150 years since the inauguration of the Suez Canal, and we have more about it. We'll be back again. Stay with us.